Hi. In this video, we will learn about the date functions in Excel.
Let's now look at date functions in Excel. So when you look at dates in Excel, you see there are different formats that we can use for dates. So actually, although we have these different formats, Excel basically stores all of these days as a number sequence. So basically there is a number sequence, and then Excel allocates each of these dates to a number. So here, if you go into one of these cells, you see in the formula bar, you get a date there. And all of these dates, although they are different, although the formatting is different, you see all of these dates are the same on the first three dates. So basically, it's just formatting that has been applied. So if you want to see the underlying number behind this date, you can go to Home, and under the number group, if you can change the date to general format like this, you see 45,534 is the underlying number behind this date. So this is the number that Excel has allocated to this date. So you can change the others as well. Just change to general, and you see these are the numbers that are behind the dates. So this is how actually Excel stores the dates. So this number sequence starts from 1st of January 1900. So if I convert this to general format, you see that is 1. So basically, this is how the number sequence runs from 1st of January 1900. So actually, we can't basically work on dates earlier than 1st of January 1900 in Excel. But for all purposes, this is fine because we basically don't work on financial data or otherwise that is going beyond 1900. So here we looked at changing the date to the number format by changing the formatting to general. So there's another way to do this. We can use the date value function. So we look at the first date function called date value. So basically what date value does is it converts text that looks like a date into the corresponding number code like this. So for here, we actually in these two cells, although they look like days, they're actually text. You see there's an apostrophe in front of the date. And the other clue is that it's aligned to the left-hand side, not to the right-hand side like the standard alignment for dates. So these are actually two text, but they look like dates. So we can use the date value function to convert these to the number code. So here we can give the cell like this and enter. And this is the date code or the number that has been allocated to this date. So if I copy it down, you'll see 1st of January 1900 is the first date. And it's been allocated date number. It's been allocated number 1. Now these are actually actual dates that are in cells. So if we try to use date value on those, it won't work because it's basically date value works on text that looks like numbers. So once we have converted the dates, the text that looks like dates into real dates like this, we can actually then apply whatever formatting we want. Let's say we want to go by short date, we can apply that format. And if we want to go by long date, we can apply that format. So any format we can apply after we have converted the text into a date value using the date value function. So let's look at some other useful functions. The day function basically extracts the day out of a date and returns that value into a cell. So we can use equals day and just give the cell reference and enter, and see the 30th, the date has been extracted using the day function. So let me copy it down. So this is 6th and this is the 3rd. So the day is extracted using the day function. We can also use the function text to extract the day name. So for here, let's say we type text and then give the value in the cell, and then we have to give the format. The format is what we want to use for the day name. So we have one format. We can use 3 Ds like this within double quotation, DDD format, and then let's enter, and we get the short form of the day, month for Monday. Then we can also use the long format. For that, we can use 4 Ds. Let's see that. So again, we'll use the format. Instead of 3 Ds, here we will use 4 Ds. So that will give the full day of the, that will give the full day name, like Sunday. So let me just copy that down, and we get Tuesday. So if you want the short format, you can use 3 Ds. And if you want the full name, you can use 4 Ds. So if you want to extract the month, like we extracted the day, we can use the month function. So month function works like this. So just give the cell reference and you get 8. So August 8th has been extracted. So let me copy it down. So this is March and this is December 12. Again, you can use the text function to extract the month name. So here we can type equals text. Then we can give the cell reference, and the format we can use. If we want the short form of the month, we can use 3 M's. So MMM, and then close the bracket. Then we get the short form August, AUG. And if I copy it down, if you want the full month name, we can use 4 M's instead of 3. So I'll type in 4 M's and you get the full month name March. And copy it down and I get December, the full month name. And we can extract the, like we did the day, the month, we can extract the year as well using the year function. So equals year and just give the cell reference. And I can copy it down like this. And for these functions, day, month, and year, instead of giving the cell reference, we can give the date as well within double quotations like this. So if I type 30th August 2021 and then close with a double quotation, I still get the year. So here I have used the date within double quotations instead of the cell reference. So we can do the same for month and then the day functions. Then we have a function to extract the weekday. So whether it's like Monday, Tuesday, like that, it can give the weekday in a number sequence. So let's look at that. Equals weekday, and then we just give the date, and then you will see there is an optional argument called return type. So that basically gives where it basically gives the weekday convention that we are going to use. So different countries might use different date conventions. Like some countries will have Monday to Sunday as starting from 1 to 7. And some countries might have, let's say, Saturday as day number 1 and going through day number 7 to Friday. So it depends on where you're located and the date convention. So generally we can use the second. So generally we can use option 2, where we have Monday as date number 1 and Sunday as 7th. So we'll use 2 over here. And press enter. So 1 means this is a Monday. So I copy it down. 7 is a Sunday. 2 is a Tuesday. So if you want, you can use different return types to give different weekday conventions. Then there's a week number function, week num, which will give the week in the year. Like this is the first week in the year, second year, whatever. So we can use equals week sum, week num, and then we give the week, we give the cell reference. And then, so here the return type, basically we can say whether we want to start counting from the Sunday or the Monday or whatever other date. So we can give whatever date we want to start counting from. So the default value is Sunday. So we can use 1 for Sunday, or we can use 2 for Monday. So it will return the week number out of the 54 weeks of the year. What week does this week date fall into? So here this is the 36th date. And we come up to 49. So if I make this 31st of December, I get 54 here. So it depends on the starting week convention. So if I take this and change this to 1, so here basically the year will have 54 weeks, but here we have started counting the week from Sunday. So that's why we have used 1 as the return type. But here this date falls on a Tuesday. This is a Tuesday. So if we change the return type from here and we go for the return type as Tuesday, so that will be 12. We select 12 and then we get 54. So this falls on the last week of the year. Then there may be situations where we got the year in one column, the month in another column, and the day in another column. And we want to combine all of this together into one cell and get the date into that cell. So for that, we can use the date function. So equals date, and then we just need to give the year cell. So this is the year cell, and the month cell, and then the day cell. So we got 30th August 2021 in one cell. So we can copy it down and it will create different dates into the different cells depending on the inputs we have given. Now we can actually subtract and add and do mathematics with dates, because as we have seen, dates are a number sequence. So we can add 5 days or whatever to a date and then get another date, and we can deduct dates and then get the result. So it's very simple. Just you write equals, you take this date, and let's say you want to add to that 5 days, you can add like this. And you get the 5 days later date from this date. We can also just add 5 here without cell reference, so it will give the same result. You can also subtract the same way. So here we have this date, and let's say we want to subtract minus 5 days. So we just add because it's a minus, and we get 28th of November 1000, that is 5 days earlier. So I can even from here just do a minus and put 5, and I get the same result. So here we have added and subtracted days. We can do the same thing with months. But to do that, we need to use a function called edate. So let's look at how we work that. So equals edate, and then you have to give the starting month cell. So it will just take the month from the start date, and then we have to give how many months we want to add or subtract. So it can be positive or negative value. So here we will give 5 and enter. So after December, when you add 5 months from this date, you get 3rd of May. So I copy it down. So if I deduct 5 months from this December 3rd, I land on 3rd of July. So the day function, basically you need to give the starting date and then the number of months you want to add or minus. So this is useful basically when you are building financial models and you want to forecast, let's say, monthly turnover, whatever values for your P&L and so on. So then you can use this and edate function to add different months from a starting date. So sometimes you need to add or subtract months and get the month end date, not just the date. For accounting, we might need the month end date. So for that, we can use the year month or end of month function. So here we can type year month and give the starting date. And let's say we want 5 months to be added. Just add that and enter. So we land from this date, 3rd December. When you add 5 months, actually we end up with 3rd of May. But we want the month end, so end of month stays. End of months gives us the month end date. So edate just gives the additional date after counting the number of months, but end of month gives us a more useful month end. So edate just gives the date after adding couple of months, but end of month gives the month end where that date falls into. So for accounting purposes, it's useful to know the end of month date. So we can use that year month in that situation. So if I copy it down, so here from here, when I minus 5 months, I landed on 3rd of July. So it's taking the month end date of July, 31st of July. We can also add and subtract years from a date. So here we have to use several functions. So let's try to do that. We can basically use the date function to do this. We can use date like this, and then for the year, we can use the year function to extract the year. So here we can type year and type this and select the cell. And then to this, we want to add 5 years, right? So we can put a plus and then click on this cell to add 5 years. And then we put a comma and we go to the month input, month argument. And for that, we will use a month function to extract the month from this date. And then put a comma. And for the day, we will use the day function to extract the day from this. And then we can close the bracket. So basically what we have done is we have used the date function, and inside that, to add 5 years, we have first used the year function to extract the year here, And then we have added the 5 from this cell to add 5 years. And to extract the month, we have used the month function. And for the day, we have used the day function to extract the day. So if I press enter, so I get 3rd of December 2005. So we started with the year 2000 and we wanted to add 5 years. So it has taken 5 years to the added 5 years to the year and kept the month and the date same. So we can just copy it down. So here we are deducting 5 years. So from 2000, when we deduct 5 years, we end on 1995 and we keep the same date, 3rd, and same year, same month, December. We can also add and subtract different days, months, and years from a given date using the same date function and the same methodology, where we take the year out using the year function, and if you want to add something to that or deduct, we do it there, and then we extract the month, and if you want to add or minus anything from the month, we do it there, and then for the day, we extract the day using the day function, and any addition subtraction to the dates will be done there. So let's try to do it here. So we will use the date function first, and then for year, we will use the year function to extract the year out of this. And we want to add 1 year. So we can do a plus and refer to this one cell. Or if I want, I can just hard code 1 here. Then put a comma. Then I go for the month function to extract the month. So I take the month from the same cell reference. And then I need to add 4 months. So I take 4 from this cell reference, or I can say plus 4. Then I put a comma, and for the day, I use the day function to extract the day from here. And to that, I want to add 10 days. So I use this cell reference, or I can hard code 10 into this cell. Then I can close the bracket and press enter. So I got the result. From this date, I have added 1 year and 4 months and 10 days. So this is the ending date, 13th April 2002. So I can copy it down for the other cell. So here I have taken different values for the year, month, and days. So that's how we can, if you want, you can add years separately, months separately, and days separately using the date function. And within that, using the year, month, and day function. If you want to insert the today's date into your Excel sheet, you can use the today function. So the function is like this. You just type today. And basically there is no arguments to input. You just close the bracket like this. And then you can press enter. And you get today's date inserted into your cell. There is also a keyboard shortcut, Control and the semicolon. So if you press Control and semicolon, you will also insert today's date into the cell. When you're using this today function, you need to be careful, because if you share this file with somebody and he opens that on a different date, it will take the system date from the PC or the machine and it will display here. So it might be misleading. So this is a dynamic function that updates based on the system date on your machine. So best thing, if you want to share this with somebody, to copy paste this as a value so it won't change on different dates when it's opened. We can use the days function to calculate the number of days between two given dates. We can use equals days, and you have to just give the ending date here, the last date, and then the start date. and you get answer 365. So you can use subtraction for this as well. So we give the ending date minus the start date, and we still get the same result. So let me just copy this down, and I will copy this down as well. So it will give the same, subtraction will give the same results as the days function. Then we have the days 360 function, which works on a 360 days per year convention. So it will again calculate the difference between dates. So you can use it like this. Days 360, you give the start date and then the ending date. And then you have two methods. You can use the US method, where it says start and end days will be approximate to a 30-day month via US Nest method. Or you can go for the other one, the European method, which says start and end days that occur on the 31st day of a month will equal to the 30th day of that month. So it's just two methods of convention that you can use. So let's say we use the European one here. So we get 89 days. And let me copy it down. So here we have used the European method. We will now use the US method, the false option. So we get 1 day difference, or 2 day difference actually. So this is 89 days because of the date convention we have used. And this is 90 days. The dative function gives us the difference between two date values in years, months, or days. So let's start using the function. Date. See, when you type date in your Excel's IntelliSense, you don't get the date diff function available. So this is because this is a compatibility function that came from Lotus 123, which was a old version of which was old spreadsheet version. So we can type date diff, and then we can, once we open the bracket, so you see that function is supported. That's why you get that kind of notification. So the syntax is, first you need to give the start date separated by a comma, then you give the end date, and then you can give the unit format that you need to use. So here, let's say we want to use the Y for year format. So we'll type Y here and enter. So here we have gone by the unit of years. So we get from 1st of Jan 2022, 2021, 1st of Jan, number of years is 1. So that's why we get a 1 over there. You can also type, instead of giving the cell reference, you can type Y over here within double quotations like this, either capital or simple Y. And then still you will get the same result like this. Then you can use M for the month. So let's type that. Date diff. And the start date. The end date. And let's give M as the unit and press enter. So the number of months difference between these 2 days is 12 months. So we get 12 over here. If I copy it down in date terms, D, we have 366 day difference between these two dates. So let me just copy this down. So from here, we see from 7th of August 2021 to 15th October 2021. Years, it says 0. It is because there's no full year between these 2 days. If you go for months, it says there's 2 months. So this is August and this is October. So 2 months difference. And in days, you get 69 days. So you can just even subtract this and see end date minus start date, you get 69. So date diff is another way we can use to calculate the difference between 2 dates in years, months, and then days. When we want to calculate the ending date for working, say, X number of days, we can use the workday function. So from this date, if you want to add 5 working days and then find out which date that ends in, we can use the workday function. So we can type equals workday, and you need to give the starting date and then holidays, then the days that you want to work for, and you see there's an optional argument, holidays. So holidays can be, these are not basically weekends, but these are other holidays like New Year, Christmas, and so on, that can be differing from company to company. So here, since this is an optional argument, let me not give a holidays. Let me not use holidays here, and I will just press enter. So from 30th June, when you work 5 days, you end up on 6th of July. So here the workday function takes the Saturday, Sunday, or the weekend as off days. So here, when you start from here, these 2 Saturday, Sundays, working days. So from here, we start counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we end up on 7th of July. So that's why we get this date. So if I copy this down, and then in this situation, let me give some holidays. So I will give these 2 days as holidays. So 4th and the 11th are holidays. So then we end up, after working 5 days, on 10th of July instead of 7th. So if we count from here, these 2 days are off, 1, this day is off, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So it's 10th of July, that is the ending date. So again, if you work, I can just copy it down. So here, when I copy it down, I need to change the cell reference again. So now I end up on the 12th of July. So after 6 days, I'm landing on 12th of July. So if I count 6 days here, these 2 days off, 1 off, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, 12th of July. So that's why we land on the 12th of July. So these 2 days are off, and we have to take the weekends out. The Workday INTL or International, Workday International is a upgraded version of the Workday function. So this is basically similar to the Workday function, but here we can specify the weekend. Generally, it's taken as Saturday and Sunday, but if you want, we can change it to a different format, like maybe Sunday and Monday is the weekend. So different territories and companies might have different working conventions and weekends. So we can incorporate that using the Workday International function. So let's see how it works. We type Workday International, and then we have to give the starting date, and then the number of days we have to work for, and then you see We have two optional arguments in square brackets, the weekend and then the holidays. So holidays we can give as a cell reference like this, like in workday. But in addition to workday function, we have another argument called weekend. So weekend, we can give whatever weekend format we want to use. So if you put a comma here, you see these are the options of the weekends that we have. The default option is one where the conventional Saturday, Sunday is the weekend. But if you want, you can take Sunday, Monday, and different options are there. Some companies may have only Sunday off, so we can use 11 in that case. So likewise, you have different options you can use. So here I will just go by the standard format, Saturday and Sunday. And then for holidays, I will select these 2 days. And I will cross the bracket. So I get 10th of July is 5 days after this day in working day terms. So if I copy it down for different dates, I will get different results. So here we had the weekend convention as Saturday and Sunday. So here if I change that to maybe let's have only Sunday off. So I will use option number 11. Then instead of 10th, we get 7th because they are working more additional Saturdays, which are off in this option. Saturday, Sunday was the weekend. Here only Sunday is the weekend. So we are finishing the project or the 5 days earlier when we go for that convention. The network dates function basically calculates the working days between 2 dates, and it excludes weekends, that is Saturday and Sunday, as off days. And optionally we can give holidays. So let's see how that works. Equals network days, and I give the starting date and the ending date. And here let me not give any optional holidays. So let me just enter and I get 7 days. So between 30th and 10th of July. So from here to 10th of July over here. So if we calculate from here, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So 7 working days are there between these 2 dates, excluding only these weekends. So let me copy it down, and I will also, in this situation, I will add the holidays as these 2 days. I will add holidays as these 2 dates, and then I end up on the 6 days. So that is because if I start counting from here, 30th, 1, 2, 3, this is off day, 4, 5, and 6. So there are 6 working days when I exclude the holidays as well, these 2 days. So if I copy this down, I'll change the cell reference. So this is between 14th of July and 6th of July. So it says -6 days. So it's basically counting from the other side. So if we start from 14th to 6th, so 14th is over here. We start counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 until 6th of July. So it's giving us minus because we are calculating starting from the later date. So there are 6 days back working days between. That's what it means. Then we have additional function, network days, INTL or international. So what happens here is, in addition to the network days functionality, it has given us the option to define the weekend. So generally, network days, we always take Saturday and Sunday as the weekend. But here we can give our own custom weekends, like maybe Sunday is the only off day, or Sunday is the only weekend, something like that, depending on the company's policy. So let's try that. Equals network days international. So you get the starting date and then the ending date. And see, now we got a weekend drop down option. So we can give any of these weekends. By default, Saturday and Sunday is the weekend. So we'll use that as the weekend. And in this situation, we will give optional holidays. These 2 days we'll give as optional holidays, and enter. See, from 30th to 10th, we have 6 working days. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 6 days is what we have between these 2 days as working days, excluding these 2 holidays and the weekends. So let me just copy this down, and I need to change the cell reference to the holidays. And here I will change the weekend to Sunday only. So I'll use the option 11. So that means Sunday only is the weekend. So then we get 8 days until 10th of July. So let's count from here. 1, 2, Saturday we are working. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We are working on Saturday. 8. And that's what we got over here, 8 days. So when we change the weekend to Sunday only. So this is Saturday and Sunday as weekend, and this is Sunday only. So let's try the same function without giving any holidays. Network days international. Starting date this. Ending date this. And let's keep Saturday and Sunday as holidays. We'll keep Saturday and Sunday as weekend, and present. So now we get 7 days. Earlier we got 6 days when we gave the holidays. So if we count from here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 7. So 7 days we got between these 2 days when we go with this, only the weekend as off days. The year frac or the year fraction function basically can calculate the fraction of years between 2 dates. So let's use that and see. Equals year frac, and you get the starting date and the ending date, and then we have something optional argument called the basis. So we have 5 bases actually. The US NSD 30 or 360 convention, actual to actual, that means we are using actual dates. Actual to 360, that means we are using a 360 date year. Then actual to 365, that means we are using 365. And then the European 30 to 360 convention. So you see the US NSD 3360, you are using the day count basis. And here, the the European option is also using the day count basis. So here we'll go with actual to actual to get the real actual date calculation as the basis. So from 31st December 2022, 31st December 2021, that's 1 year. So if I copy this down, I get from 31st December 2022, 10th of July is 2.52 in fraction form years. We can use this yearFrac function to calculate the age from a given date. So we got these employees, the names are there. We got their date of birth, and let's say this is the current date, and we want to calculate their age. We can use this function equals yearFrac, and we give the starting date as date of birth and the ending date of current date. And for the basis, we will use actual. And we find this person is 21.3 years. And here I need to adjust the cell reference. So Aaron is 25.07 years. So yearFrac is useful when you want to calculate the age in years.
Thanks for watching.